From the moment Chishimdi stepped out of the taxi and into the bright lights of the rooftop lounge, she knew she wasn't supposed to be there. Not because she wasn't invited, she was, but because she didn't belong. The entrance to Bamboo Sky Lounge was lined with velvet ropes, gold balloon pillars, and an actual red carpet that stretched into the elevator. On the left, a glass wall revealed the twinkling Abuja skyline, and on the right, a photographer in a branded t-shirt was snapping away as guests in glittering dresses and sleek agbadas posed in laughter and luxury. Chishimdi paused at the door, clutching her white purse tightly. She had spent nearly 2 hours getting ready in her tiny room back in Gwarinpa. Her white knee-length dress was clean and pressed, fitted but modest, hugging her slim frame without drawing attention. Her natural cornrows were neatly weaved all back. She'd even borrowed her roommate's nude block heels and applied a touch of pink lip gloss, hoping she wouldn't look too plain. She looked at herself in the reflection of the elevator glass and whispered under her breath, "Smile, Chissy. Just smile." The doors opened, and in that very moment she disappeared. Not physically, of course, but emotionally. She became invisible, swallowed by glitter and lights and laughter she couldn't reach. The party was breathtaking. A rooftop covered in fairy lights, an all-white setting, white tables, white satin chairs, white and gold drapes fluttering in the breeze. A tall gold banner read, "Happy 25th birthday, Ona, our golden girl." Guests floated around in elegant gowns, champagne glasses in hand. The music pulsed with soft Afro beats, and a DJ played romantic remixes of trending love songs. Some were dancing, some were posing for Instagram stories, and all of them, every single one, looked like they belonged in a magazine. Except Chishimdi. She hovered near the back of the event space, sipping slowly from her mocktail, her back straight, her face blank. She'd been standing there for nearly 20 minutes, but no one had noticed her. Not even Ona, the birthday girl, her best friend, the one she'd known since university. Not yet, anyway. Ona looked stunning. Her gold silk gown sparkled under the fairy lights. The gown was strapless and form-fitting, dripping in crystals from her chest down to the split that revealed a perfect brown thigh. Her hourglass figure was like something carved, her backside rounded like a sculpture. Her long, curly wig fell down her back, and her makeup was photo shoot flawless. As she walked through the crowd, people parted like the Red Sea. Cameras followed her. Compliments flooded the air. "Ona, you're fire. That body is illegal. Who born you a beg?" Chishimdi watched all of it with a polite smile, but inside her something began to shift. Something slow, heavy, cold. This wasn't the first time she had felt small next to Ona. It wouldn't be the last. But tonight, something about it cut deeper than ever before. She tried to blend in. She walked to the corner where a group of other guests stood chatting. They looked her way briefly, then looked past her like she was an assistant. One lady even brushed her shoulder and muttered, "Sorry," without looking. Chishimdi stepped aside, her heart sinking. She scanned the room. Men were circling girls like bees, especially the ones with curves. Curves in silk, in glitter, in mesh. Girls with hips that swung like music, who walked like they owned space. She looked down at her own body. Slim, straight, flat. She had always been this way, and she had always told herself it was okay. Your beauty is your peace. That was what her mother once said. But tonight, peace felt more like punishment. Just then she heard her name. "Chissy!" She turned. Ona was walking toward her, phone in hand, smile wide. "Babe, where have you been hiding?" Ona asked, pulling her in for a quick hug. "Don't be standing alone like decoration now. Come and meet someone." Chishimdi followed her quietly. She hated introductions. "Chissy, meet Folklore," Ona said, beaming. "He said he likes natural beauty, and I told him, my friend is the queen of that." Folklore smiled faintly. He was tall, bearded, well-dressed. "Hi," Chishimdi said softly. Folklore's eyes moved from her face to her body. He raised an eyebrow, just slightly. "Yeah, natural is cool," he said. But not too natural, Shah, he chuckled. Ona laughed. Chishimdi did not. Something about that joke stayed in her chest like stone. She smiled out of politeness, then excused herself minutes later. Ona didn't follow. No one did. She left the party early, walking out quietly like a ghost in white. No one called out. No one asked if she was okay, not even Ona. That night she cried. She curled up in bed, fully dressed, her makeup still on. Her phone buzzed with Instagram stories tagged #Ona@25, but she didn't open them. She didn't need to. She knew what she would see. Laughter, lights, girls with perfect shapes twirling on camera, and herself in the corner, barely visible. She closed her eyes, but sleep didn't come. Because in that moment, Chisimdi realized something she had tried to deny for years. In a world that celebrated curves, she was invisible. And invisibility was beginning to feel like death. The day after the rooftop party, Chisimdi stayed in bed until noon. Her phone buzzed with messages from her boutique supervisor and a missed call from Ona, but she didn't answer either. She lay there in her room, small, square, and quiet, with a ceiling fan that groaned more than it spun and a wardrobe that barely closed. Her dress from last night still hung on the plastic hanger near the window, gently swaying with the breeze like a flag of defeat. She stared at it, empty, drained. That party had left something in her chest. Not anger, not even sadness. Just a heavy silence, the kind that wraps around your thoughts like a thick blanket, pressing down until it's hard to breathe. Her mind kept replaying the moment when Folarin said, "Natural is cool, but not too natural." He didn't even mean it as an insult. That was what hurt the most. By 2 p.m., she forced herself out of bed. She bathed quickly, tied her towel, and stood in front of the mirror on her wall. It was cracked slightly at the bottom, but still clear enough to see herself. Her reflection stared back, tall, slim, soft brown skin, sharp cheekbones, and a body that went straight down like a ruler. No hips, no curve, just lines. She turned sideways, trying to poke her backside out. Nothing changed. She wrapped her arms around her waist, gently squeezed her hips as if trying to mold them. "Would it really change who I am?" she whispered. "Or would it just make people look at me for once?" Her voice trailed off. She got dressed in a simple, clean blouse and ankle-length pleated skirt, packed her handbag, and made her way to the boutique. The boutique was located inside a mid-sized shopping plaza in Wusei. The shop had a soft white interior with wooden floors, large mirrors, mannequins dressed in fitted Ankara dresses, and shelves of shoes that sparkled under bright LED lights. It was one of the few jobs Chisimdi had grown to love, styling women, arranging racks, and watching them twirl in front of the mirror. But that day, she noticed something she hadn't truly paid attention to before. The ones who drew the most attention were never the prettiest. They were the curviest. A woman walked in, jeans tight, blouse hugging her hips like a second skin. 3 men from a nearby barbershop next door leaned in from the window to get a better look. Another customer came in moments later, this time wearing a fitted black jumpsuit with cleavage and a massive backside. She wasn't even polite, but the other female staff still offered to serve her with fake smiles. Meanwhile, when Chisimdi stood by the counter, smiling warmly and offering honest advice to a customer, the woman simply looked at her body once, then dismissed her. "You wouldn't understand what fits my shape," she said, walking away. Chisimdi stood still, her lips slightly parted. For the first time, she didn't even try to smile it off. Later that afternoon, Ona strolled into the boutique with her usual charm. She wore a chocolate brown 2-piece set, fitted skirt, cropped top. Her shape made the fabric look like it was sewn into her skin. 2 girls walking past outside paused to stare. Even the delivery man who brought drinks to the cafe next door turned twice. "Chissy!" Ona beamed. "Please help me pick an outfit for tomorrow's gym shoot." "Gym shoot?" Chisimdi asked. "Yes, now. I just signed a fitness promo gig. They said I should be in leggings and a sports bra. Biko don't choose anything that hides my waist." Chisimdi managed a smile. Ona always had something going for her. A new ad deal, a makeup promo, A modeling gig. And all of it because of her body. The assistant manager, who had barely spoken to Chishimdi all week, walked over and said, "Wow, Ona, you should be the face of this boutique. Oh, if I wear clothes like you, I swear we go double sales." There it was again. That invisible slap, the one that landed only in her mind, but left a mark on her self-worth. The next morning, Chishimdi followed Ona to the gym, reluctantly. She hated the gym. Not because she was lazy, but because every time she entered, she felt like she was in a body contest she never signed up for. The fitness center was air-conditioned and luxurious, filled with full-body mirrors and curated playlists. Girls in seamless leggings and push-up bras squatted with weights. Men lingered near treadmills pretending to exercise just to catch glimpses of bouncing curves. Ona was in her element, laughing, snapping selfies, giving waist-snatching tips to strangers. And Chishimdi? She sat on the yoga mat, quietly tying her shoelaces, praying no one noticed her flat leggings or how out of place she looked. One trainer passed her and said, "You're not here to gain weight, are you? You look like you need burgers, not burpees." He meant it as a joke. She laughed politely. But later that night, she sat on the toilet seat, staring at herself in the mirror again. Only this time, she didn't see a body. She saw a blank canvas, waiting to be painted. The breaking point came a week later during church service. She wore her Sunday best, a beautiful maroon dress with floral embroidery, cinched at the waist. Her hair was freshly styled, edges laid. She even wore perfume. And still, the usher handed her a seat in the far corner, while curvy girls in bodycon dresses were seated right in front near the fan and lighting. After service, while waiting for her Uber, a woman walked up to her and said gently, "Sweetheart, you're beautiful, but try small bum short, just to add shape. These days men like curves." She smiled and walked away. And that was it. That night, back in her room, Chishimdi did something she never thought she'd do. She opened Instagram. She typed hips enlargement in the search bar. She scrolled past surgeries, injections, and body trainers, and then she saw it. The same account she had noticed weeks ago, but ignored. At Miss Camsey Lux, curves without surgery. Safe, tested, 7-day result. DM to order, 100+ transformation videos, thousands of likes. She hesitated. Her fingers trembled. She thought of her mother, of Juju's voice, of all the comments, of how Ona never meant to make her feel small, but always did. And then she whispered, "Maybe this is the only way." She tapped message. Chishimdi. "Hi, I'm interested. Please send me the price." It arrived 2 days later. A brown, unmarked paper bag, small enough to be forgotten, yet heavy enough to carry a woman's entire self-worth. The dispatch rider called her just as she stepped out of the boutique for her lunch break. "Good afternoon, Ma. I'm outside. I have your special delivery." Her heart skipped. She scanned the open plaza. The man leaned against his motorcycle by the security post, wearing a plain black t-shirt and sunglasses. There was no label on the bag, no branding, no invoice. Just discretion. Exactly as promised. Chishimdi signed quietly, handed him cash, and tucked the parcel into her handbag as if it were something illegal. She didn't say a word to her colleagues when she returned inside. Back in her room that night, the city was quiet. The cream sat on her dressing table, surrounded by her untouched perfumes and old lip gloss tubes. It came in a small white container with a pink lid, no instructions printed, just a folded business card with gold lettering that read, "Camsey Lux Curves, bold, beautiful, built." The rest of the text was handwritten in black marker. "Apply once every night after bath. Massage firmly for 10 minutes. No gym, no pills, no questions." Chishimdi stared at it for a long time. She undressed slowly, as if performing a ritual. Then, standing in front of her mirror, with the same all-back cornrows she'd worn for weeks, the same stretch-free skin she had known for years, she opened the container. The cream was pale pink, thick, scented like coconut and something chemical underneath. She dipped her fingers in. "This is silly," she whispered. I don't even know what's inside. But then she remembered the gym, the party, the boutique, that woman at church. She rubbed the cream onto her hips and backside, gently at first, then slowly with firmer pressure. And for the first time in her life, she touched her body, not with shame, but with intention. She repeated the routine every night. For the first few days, nothing happened. No swelling, no itching, no magic. But by the 5th day, something began to change. Her jeans, the ones that always slid up too easily, suddenly needed a little pull. Her underwear left faint lines on her skin. Her mirror, which had always reflected flatness, now hinted at the softest roundness beginning to form on her hips. She said nothing to anyone, not even Ona. But Ona noticed. They were getting ready for a fashion pop-up event one Saturday morning, arranging dresses on mannequins at the boutique, when Ona turned around sharply and stared. "Wait." Chishimdi paused mid-fold. "What?" Ona tilted her head. "Turn around." "What is it?" Chishimdi laughed nervously. Ona squinted. "You're... Chissy, what's happening to your body?" Chishimdi blinked. "What do you mean?" Ona took 2 steps closer and narrowed her eyes at Chishimdi's backside, which now pressed softly against her straight skirt. "Are you... working out? What are you eating?" "I've just been resting more," Chishimdi lied, adjusting her top. Ona raised an eyebrow. "Well, whatever it is, it's working. You're filling out-o." Chishimdi smiled, a real smile, not forced, not polite, proud. She turned back to the clothes, but her heart was pounding, not from fear, but from the thrill of being seen. Later that afternoon, as she stepped out of the boutique to buy suya, a group of guys seated by the next building paused mid-conversation. One of them nudged the other. "See that girl? That one in white?" Chishimdi didn't turn around, but her lips curled slowly. She had never been that girl, not once in her entire life. The following week was a blur of small moments that felt like victory. A customer at the boutique complimented her figure, asking if she modeled part-time. Juju stared at her one morning and said, "You're looking rounder, like in a good way." Her regular Bolt driver lowered his mirror to look at her reflection while she entered the car, something he'd never done before. Even her old trousers no longer zipped up all the way. Each comment was like water on dry soil, feeding a part of her that had starved for too long. But the biggest change came online. Chishimdi uploaded a full-length selfie on her WhatsApp status. Fitted jeans, black crop top, neutral smile. Within minutes, the reaction started. "Chisi, are you working on something new?" "Wait, ooh, C-shape, choke." Even a classmate from university she hadn't spoken to in years replied, "Please don't ignore this message. You're glowing. Let's talk." Chishimdi stared at the messages for hours, not because she didn't know what to say, but because for once in her life, people had something to say to her. She began walking differently. She stopped hiding her backside with long tops. She started wearing skirts with slits, just small ones. She downloaded TikTok again. She practiced smiling with a slight side pose. And every night, she massaged the cream into her body like it was gold. No one needed to know. This transformation, it was hers. One evening, Ona called to invite her to a private birthday dinner. "You better wear something tight," Ona laughed. "I want people to see what I'm seeing." And they did. At the dinner, held at a soft-lit rooftop restaurant in Asakoro, Chishimdi walked in wearing a chocolate-colored bodycon dress and nude heels. Her makeup was light, her skin was glowing. She didn't try to be noticed, and yet every man in the room noticed. And Ona? She smiled, but there was something in her eyes. Something unreadable. A flicker of confusion, maybe even a flicker of discomfort. That night, as she lay on her bed in silence, scrolling through the group photos from the dinner, Chishimdi whispered, "Finally." She closed her eyes and fell asleep, smiling. But on her nightstand, just inches away, the cream jar sat half empty, glowing faintly under the moonlight. And inside her body, the change had only just begun. There is a kind of attention that is loud, the type that claps for you, tags you, calls your name out in a crowd. And then there is the other kind, the silent shift. That's what Chisimdi began to experience. It didn't happen overnight. It wasn't dramatic or obvious, but suddenly doors began to open a little quicker when she walked in. People who used to speak to her without making eye contact now paused mid-sentence and looked again. Strangers asked for her opinion. Men held conversations longer than they needed to. And women, especially curvy women, started to take a little more notice than before. It began on a Tuesday morning inside the boutique. Chisimdi had arrived early. The shop was still quiet, just her and Juju arranging the new collection of body-fitted jumpsuits and flare-sleeve gowns. She bent slightly to pick up a pair of heels from the floor when Juju gasped. "Wait." Chisimdi looked up. "What is it?" Juju stared at her backside and tilted her head slightly. "Are you sure you're okay? You're changing, Chissy." Chisimdi's heart skipped, but her face stayed calm. "What do you mean?" "I don't know how to explain it," Juju said, almost whispering. "But you're looking rounder. And not just rounder, shapelier. Like you're glowing." Chisimdi adjusted her top casually, though she felt her cheeks warming. "It must be the new skirt," she said softly. But even she knew that wasn't true. This wasn't just the skirt. That night, she lay in bed remembering it. And for the first time in years, she did not feel invisible. By the end of the week, the compliments started to grow bolder, and bolder still. A male customer she was attending to in the boutique took a moment too long to pick a shirt. Instead of focusing on the clothes, his eyes moved up and down her body, lingering longer than appropriate. "You should be the one modeling these clothes, not arranging them," he said. Chisimdi looked away, smiling faintly. She posted another picture on Instagram. A simple mirror selfie. Black jeans, a sleeveless beige top. Nothing loud. But the likes exploded. 342 likes in a few hours. Comments began pouring in. "Is it just me, or is she giving body now? Tishimi, this new glow fits you. I see that figure coming together." She smiled and turned her phone screen face down, but the notification light kept flashing. That night she checked herself in the mirror again, slowly. There was a gentle rise where there used to be hollowness. Her hips curved outward slightly before narrowing again at her thighs. Her skirts now clung to her body in a way that made her pause when dressing. She didn't speak to anyone about it, not even Ona, especially not Ona. But of course, Ona noticed. They were in the dressing room of a new boutique downtown, trying on outfits for a fashion blogger's networking event. Ona emerged first, wearing a gold two-piece set, her curves as dramatic as ever. Then Chisimdi stepped out, in a fitted green satin gown. And for a full 5 seconds, Ona said nothing. She simply stared. Her eyes swept down and back up. She blinked, adjusted her hair, and smiled. "You're glowing," she said slowly. "Have you been working out?" "I'm asking again." "No," Chisimdi replied with a soft grin. "Just resting more." "Well," Ona laughed tightly, "rest is doing wonders. If I didn't know you, I'd think you had surgery." Chisimdi laughed. "Do I look like someone who can afford that?" Ona didn't reply. But that night, as they entered the venue side by side, for the first time in their friendship, people looked at both of them. Not just Ona. Both. The crowd whispered. One woman leaned to another. "Who's the one in green? Her body is giving model vibes." A photographer paused and asked them to take a picture together. But when the photo was uploaded the next morning, something interesting happened. The comments weren't about Ona. They were about Chisimdi. "The one in green stole the show. Who is she? Her body is soft yet structured. Wow. She looks like someone who just came out of a magazine." And Ona saw it. She didn't say anything, but Chisimdi noticed her changing. Fewer messages, fewer invites, subtle pauses in conversations. The same friend who once begged her to join events now casually said, "You don't have to come if you're busy." And yet, Chisimdi wasn't bothered. Because finally the world saw her. She was no longer the quiet shadow in the room. She was light, and people were beginning to turn toward her. But deep down, a small question kept rising like steam. If this cream can do all this, what else is it doing? She pushed the thought aside. Not now, not tonight. Let her enjoy the spotlight, just for a little while longer. The mirror reflected her softly curved waist and sculpted hips. And for the first time in her life, she whispered to her own reflection, "You are enough." But the truth was, she didn't know what was growing inside her. And by the time she found out, it would be too late. By the time the second container of cream arrived, Chishimdi didn't hesitate. She no longer flinched when the dispatch rider handed her a nameless package. She didn't hide it in her bag or wait until nightfall to open it. This time, she opened it on her bed in broad daylight, smiling as the familiar scent of coconut and chemicals filled the room. Her curves had become her identity, a brand, a silent announcement that, "I am not the girl I used to be." Even her walk had changed, slower, smoother, more deliberate. And people noticed, everywhere. On Instagram, her following tripled in 2 weeks. People she didn't know messaged her daily. Women asked for body transformation tips. Men offered money for dates, for lunch, for flights. At the boutique, customers requested her specifically. "Let the tall girl with the figure help me," one woman said. "She looks like she understands fashion better." Obianuju noticed the shift too, not just in Chishimdi's appearance, but in her energy. "You're becoming more confident," she said one afternoon. "More like I'm becoming visible," Chishimdi replied with a soft smile. And then came the brand invitations. A local waist trainer company offered her free products and a token payment to wear their gear in a few posts. A rising female fashion brand sent her a DM. "Hi, Miss Chishimdi, we love your look. We'd like to collaborate." She agreed, took the pictures, posted the stories. The comments exploded. "You're the baddest now! Your waist is giving! Curves on curves on curves!" And the more they praised her, the more she used the cream. But the bum-bum didn't stop growing. At first, it was thrilling. Clothes fit differently, her skirts hugged tighter, her jeans could barely zip. But then, it began to go beyond what she wanted. Her hips spread faster than expected. Her backside became too heavy, her steps more difficult to control. She began adjusting how she walked, spreading her legs wider to balance her weight. When she sat, she shifted repeatedly, trying to ease the tension from her lower spine. One evening, as she lay on her side scrolling through her DMs, she felt a sharp pull on her left hip. She paused, sat up, and felt it again. A tugging sensation beneath her skin, like something was tightening from the inside. She stood and looked at herself in the mirror. Her hips had widened again, but this time unevenly. The left side curved more dramatically than the right. Her shape looked exaggerated, slightly off balance. She turned, bent, looked again. Then she pulled out the cream, stared at it, and smiled faintly. "Maybe just a little too much," she whispered. "But it's working." She massaged another layer in, gently, tenderly, as if apologizing to her own body. Over the next week, the compliments grew louder, but so did the whispers. 2 girls at the boutique giggled one day as she walked past. "She's beautiful," one said, "but it's getting a bit too much, no?" Another colleague asked her, "Are you planning to do modeling professionally, or is it just for personal development?" Even Ona, who hadn't said much in recent days, commented casually, "You're almost unrecognizable now. If you keep going, you'll outgrow every chair in this boutique." Chisimdi laughed it off, but she noticed the way Ona watched her when she thought she wasn't looking. And then came the first real side effect. It happened after a long day at work. She was in her room, undressing, when she noticed something on her underwear, a faint streak of yellowish fluid. Not blood, not sweat, something thicker, oily. She frowned, pulled off her skirt and stared. There was a faint patch of darkened skin on her lower left hip, like a shadow spreading beneath the surface. She touched it. It felt warmer than the rest of her body, and slightly swollen. She stared at herself in the mirror. What is that? She examined her cream jar. It was nearly empty again. Maybe it's friction, she told herself, from sitting too long, or tight clothes. She applied some baby oil, then wiped it off, then applied the cream again, this time only on the right side. But the next morning, the patch had spread, and the swelling had deepened. Still, she wore her tight jeans. Still, she posed for Instagram. Still, she smiled when people commented, "You're the real definition of African beauty." That weekend, she attended a birthday party with Ona. It was a high-end event, rooftop restaurant, all-black theme, invited influencers. Chisimdi wore a black satin gown with a bold slit and heels so high she could barely feel her toes. Ona wore a velvet jumpsuit. But this time, the camera flashes didn't follow Ona first, they followed Chisimdi. "You look like a doll," one photographer whispered to her. "Can I tag you?" She nodded, heart pounding. She had finally become the woman they stared at, the one they whispered about, the one who glowed. But by midnight, as they sat on the outdoor patio under soft lights, Chisimdi leaned forward and winced. Ona noticed. "What's wrong?" she asked. Chisimdi straightened slowly. "Nothing. Just muscle cramps." "Your legs?" "My hips," she said quietly. Ona stared. "Maybe your body is adjusting to the new shape." Chisimdi said nothing. But deep inside she felt it. Her body was no longer adjusting. It was reacting, and she didn't know how to stop it. That night, as she undressed, she saw the second patch, this time on the right hip. A dark, shiny skin patch the size of a coin. No pain, just presence. She touched it gently, as if her own body might flinch. She looked at the cream jar again, almost finished. She placed it back on the dresser, then looked at herself one more time. Her hips had grown by at least 3 inches in 2 weeks. Her buttocks no longer fit into her old trousers. Her walk had slowed. Her sleep had changed, interrupted by the strange burning feeling on her waistline. And still, she whispered, "I just want to reach my final shape. That's all. Then I'll stop." But her body had stopped listening. Something inside her had taken over the pace. And what she wanted just wouldn't stop growing. The more they loved her, the more she panicked. Every comment, every like, every compliment felt like a spotlight she could no longer turn off. And yet, beneath all the noise, Chisimdi was beginning to suffer silently. It began with her favorite pair of jeans. They no longer fit, not even close. She tried pulling them up one morning before work and they stopped midway up her thighs. She laughed it off, thinking it was just a laundry shrink. But then she tried her backup pair. Same thing. She sat on her bed in disbelief, holding the waistbands of both trousers in her hands, her heart racing. She didn't feel bloated. She hadn't been overeating. Her stomach was flat, her arms were slender, but her lower body had completely changed. She stood in front of the mirror again. What stared back was something she barely recognized. Her hips had expanded like a slow balloon, curving outward from her slim waist like a figure sculpted by exaggeration. Her backside looked heavy, bigger than before, too big. But it wasn't just size, it was the shape, uneven, puffy in places, tight in others. One side looked more raised than the other. Her right hip had a subtle swelling that seemed to push out more each day. Still, she dressed up. She wore a pleated black skirt with a flared top and cinched belt to balance the look. It worked, at least visually, but the feeling inside her body was harder to manage. At the boutique, she moved more slowly than usual, not because she wanted to, but because every movement pulled something beneath her skin. A soft tug, a strange tension. When she bent to pick a fallen shoe, her breath hitched. When she turned quickly, her lower back ached briefly. It wasn't unbearable, not yet, but it was there. That afternoon, Juju leaned in and whispered, "You okay, babe? You're walking different today." Chisimdi smiled. "It's the heels." But she wasn't wearing heels. Juju glanced down, confused, then nodded politely and walked away. Online, however, she was thriving. Her most recent TikTok, a slow-motion video of her walking across a cafe in a fitted dress, had crossed 65,000 views overnight. Her comment section looked like a celebration. She's giving everything she's supposed to give. Now this is what body goals look like. Let's be honest, she's officially a goddess. That waist-to-hip ratio should be illegal. She read them all in silence, smiled, but something in her chest tightened. The pressure to keep showing up became overwhelming. She couldn't post old pictures anymore. Her followers expected her new shape. She couldn't wear loose clothing. People wanted the curve, the silhouette, the signature walk. Even brands reaching out to her now were asking for fitted styles only. One stylist messaged, "We love your figure. Can you model our cinch skirts for the next campaign?" Another one wrote, "Please make sure the outfit shows off your hip structure. That's your unique strength." Chisimdi agreed to everything, even when the idea of another photo shoot made her nervous. The next week, she got invited to a mini fashion influencer brunch, a chance to network, build her presence, get noticed by a wider audience. She wore a cream-colored bandage dress that clung to her body like second skin. Her makeup was flawless, her hair slicked back in a braided bun. She looked beautiful, but the moment she got out of the car at the venue, something shifted inside her body. It was subtle, a small, sharp sting in her right hip, like the edge of a pin brushing against her nerves. She froze, then kept walking. The pain faded, but the fear did not. At the event, people swarmed her. "You're that curve girl from Instagram, right? Wow, I didn't know your waist was actually real. Can we take a picture? My followers love your shape." She posed, she smiled, she answered questions, but each time she twisted to pose, her body pulled, slow, stretching pain beneath the surface. She held her breath. She stayed poised. No one noticed anything wrong, except her. Back at home that night, she peeled off her dress and stood in the mirror again. She stared. The swelling on her right hip had spread further. The skin looked a little darker, a little shinier than before. She placed her hand on it. It felt warmer than the rest of her body. She ran her fingers down the side of her leg, then up toward the curve of her waist. There were no bruises, no cuts. Just a tightness, like her body was being stretched from the inside out. Nay, she opened her last remaining cream container. Only half of it was left. She stared at it, held it, turned it, opened the lid, then closed it again. "Maybe I should stop now," she whispered. "Maybe this is enough." But she looked at her Instagram again. Notifications, likes, messages, compliments she had never received in her life. "You're perfect. This is what women should look like. My girl crush every day. Your body is unbelievable." And slowly she reopened the cream, dipped her fingers in, and began to apply it again, this time with hesitation. She massaged it more slowly, watched herself in the mirror as she did it. But this time the smile on her face wasn't pure satisfaction. It was fear, covered by silence. That night, sleep didn't come easily. She turned on her left. The pressure on her hip stung. She turned on her right. Her thigh pulsed faintly. She lay flat on her back and stared at the ceiling. And for the first time since her glow-up began, she did not feel powerful. She felt trapped. The boutique had just received a fresh collection of bodycon dresses. One of the supervisors asked Chisimdi to model a few pieces for a new promotional video on Instagram. It was supposed to be simple. Try on the outfits, take short video clips, and pose for the mannequin photos. She agreed, reluctantly. She hadn't been sleeping well. Her lower body felt heavier than usual, and although she hadn't applied the cream in 2 days, her hips still looked bigger that morning. "Just smile and get it over with," she told herself. She picked a bold royal blue gown with side cutouts and long sleeves. It was stretchy, or so she thought. She went into the fitting room. As she pulled the dress over her body, she paused. Something tugged at her waist, sharply. She adjusted her stance and wriggled gently, trying to slide it over her hips. The fabric clung desperately to her curves, groaning under the pressure as she twisted slightly to zip the side. Her reflection in the mirror was shocking. Her figure had never looked so exaggerated. The curves looked sculpted, not in the elegant, balanced way, but in a way that felt almost surreal. She stared. "Is this really me?" she whispered. But there was no time to think. The shoot had to start. She stepped out of the changing room, heels clicking softly across the boutique floor. Phones were already out. Juju was filming with the boutique's iPhone while another colleague adjusted the lighting. Two mannequins were dressed on each side, and a short wooden stool had been placed for her to pose next to. "Wow," someone said quietly behind the phone. "She looks like a fashion doll." Chizimdi smiled, lifted her chin. She turned slightly to the left, posed, then to the right, shifted her weight, and then it happened. The sound echoed like a thunderclap in a library. Every head turned instantly. Chizimdi froze mid-pose, her arms still half raised. The fabric along the right side seam of the gown had split wide open, from the waist all the way down to her upper thigh. The tear exposed part of her hip and the top of her underwear. There was a moment of silence. Too long. Too sharp. Then someone gasped softly. "Oh my God." Juju quickly lowered the phone. A colleague rushed over with a scarf, trying to cover her. Chizimdi blinked, unsure whether to laugh, cry, or run. I didn't know the dress was this tight," she muttered. No, it's not you," Juju said quickly. "Maybe this one had a factory error." But everyone knew the truth. The dress hadn't betrayed her, her body had. She shuffled, back into the changing room with the scarf wrapped tightly around her waist. Her hands were trembling, her chest was hot. She sat down slowly, burying her face in her palms. "Please don't let this go online," she whispered. She didn't come out for the rest of the shoot. The next day, she avoided the boutique entirely, called in sick, but the universe had other plans. It was Saturday morning. Chizimdi had just finished moisturizing her face and stood before her mirror, holding a beautiful tan midi skirt she'd been saving for a brunch event. It was the kind of skirt that cinched the waist and fell neatly just below the knees. She had worn it 2 months ago with ease. Now, it stopped at her hips. She tried again, pulling slowly from side to side. The fabric groaned. Then she paused, dropped her hands, and looked at her reflection. Her hips had outgrown her frame. Her waist was still slim, painfully so, and that only made the contrast worse. Her backside was now so round, so protruding, that it made her thighs look disproportionate beneath it. Worse still, her posture had changed. She no longer stood fully upright. Her lower back curved slightly forward, her hips tilting the weight of her body downward, like she was carrying something that didn't belong to her. Her face still looked beautiful. Her skin was glowing. Her hair was neatly braided into a low bun, but her body looked like a costume she couldn't take off. She stared into the mirror, eyes tired, shoulders low, and whispered, "I think I'm done." That afternoon, she sent a quiet message to Juju. "Hey, please don't tell anyone, but do you know any discreet clinic I can visit for a checkup?" Juju replied almost instantly. "Yes, my cousin works at a private diagnostic center in Wuye. They're good and private. Want me to help you book quietly?" Chizimdi hesitated, then typed, "Please, I'm desperate." The clinic was modern, white-walled and quiet. No long queues, no nosy glances. Juju's cousin met her at the front, smiled politely, and handed her a small card. "We'll run a few scans. Nothing too serious, just routine imaging," she said kindly. "You look fine, but I understand wanting peace of mind." Chizimdi nodded, her fingers clasped tightly around her bag strap. But her hands were sweating. Her heart wouldn't stop racing. 30 minutes later, she was lying on her side in a cool, dimly lit imaging room. A female technician adjusted the ultrasound wand on her waist and hips, pressing lightly. At first there was silence, then a short pause, then another. The technician frowned slightly, then moved the wand again, slower this time. "Is everything okay?" Chizimdi asked, voice tight. "I'm not sure yet," the woman replied calmly. "I'll just bring in our lead physician to take a second look." She walked out of the room. Chizimdi sat up slowly, legs trembling. Enter Dr. Femi. He was tall, soft-spoken, dressed in navy blue scrubs. He had kind eyes and the kind of voice that made people listen without feeling judged. "Good afternoon, Miss Chisimdi," he said gently, pulling on gloves. "Just a quick follow-up, if that's all right." She nodded silently. As he reviewed the scan, his eyes moved slowly. He zoomed in, scanned again, his expression never changed, calm, focused. But something shifted in his tone when he finally said, "Chisimdi, how long have you been experiencing these changes in your lower body?" She swallowed. "About 5 weeks." "Did you take anything, any supplements, pills, injections, creams?" Her throat tightened. "A topical cream, just one I saw online." "Do you know what was in it?" "No, it wasn't labeled." He nodded slowly. "Did you experience any swelling, tingling, discomfort while walking or sitting?" "Yes." He turned the monitor toward her. "What you're seeing here is a buildup of foreign mass-like deposits embedded within your subcutaneous tissues, the soft layers beneath your skin." She blinked. "I don't understand." He pointed again. "Your body has absorbed an unknown chemical substance. It's behaving like a polymer compound, not natural fat. This isn't weight gain. This is structural expansion, artificial and aggressive." Her fingers gripped the bed. "Is it dangerous?" He didn't answer immediately. Then he said, "Yes." The room fell silent. He continued. "Your body is reacting to the compound, not rejecting it, which is more dangerous because it means it's slowly merging with your tissues instead of pushing it out. If this continues, you could develop nerve compression, muscular imbalance, even lower spinal complications." Her mouth went dry. "What does that mean?" He looked at her carefully. "It means the shape may keep increasing, but your body won't be able to carry it much longer. You'll start experiencing joint pain, pressure on your spine, and eventually you may lose balance or mobility." Her chest rose and fell quickly. "Can you remove it?" she asked. He paused. "Possibly, but not easily. The process will be complex, surgical, and with risks." She covered her face with her hands, and for the first time since her transformation began, she cried. Later that evening, Dr. Femi met her again in the consultation room. This time she had her hoodie on, hair tied back, face bare. She looked nothing like the girl online. He handed her a small, printed report. "You're not the first girl I've seen with this," he said gently. "But you're one of the youngest, and honestly, one of the luckiest." She looked up, red-eyed. "Lucky?" "Yes. You came early. Most girls don't come until they can't walk anymore, or until the infection starts to spread." She shivered. "Do you want to schedule a surgical consultation?" he asked. She shook her head slowly. "Not yet." "Why?" Her voice cracked as she whispered, "Because I don't want the world to know." That night, she deleted her most recent Instagram post. She turned off her phone, closed her curtain, and sat in silence. She opened her wardrobe. He looked at all the bodycon dresses, jeans, and gowns she could no longer wear comfortably. Then she looked at the mirror again, the same mirror that had once made her feel proud. Now, it terrified her. It had been 4 days since Chisimdi's appointment with Dr. Femi. 4 long days of silence, fear, and tight-lipped embarrassment. She didn't return his calls. She didn't open Juju's messages. She just stayed inside. But then came the invitation that forced her out. A big launch event, the opening of House of Oriki, a new Afro-luxury fashion brand in Abuja, was happening that Saturday. Juju was already a small influencer and had been invited to walk the carpet. Chisimdi, by extension, was invited as her +1. "Don't worry, babe," Juju said on the phone. "It's mostly indoor AC chilling. No one's gonna ask you to stand for hours or anything." Juju had no idea what her friend was dealing with, and Chisimdi still hadn't found the words. That Saturday, she stood before her mirror again, this time with clothes scattered all over the bed. Her butt had grown again. The growth was subtle but visible, rounder, firmer, tighter. Even in her thick leggings, the back seam was beginning to stretch, as if the fabric was begging for mercy. She picked her safest outfit, a loose peach-colored gown with frills around the bottom, hoping it would conceal everything. But as she turned to the side, her heart dropped. The dress didn't hide anything, it only amplified the shape. She was already running late. With a deep breath and a half-hearted smile, she forced her mind to be quiet. Just go. Blend in. Smile. Be normal. She sprayed perfume, put on lip gloss, grabbed her clutch, and left the house. The event venue sparkled with soft lights and photo booths. A red carpet ran down the center of the reception area. People were dressed to impress. Ankara suits, velvet gowns, glass heels, glittering eyeshadow. As they entered, Juju squealed, "We are too fine, baddie duo. Let me post us on TikTok." Chisimdi shook her head. "Please don't tag me. My phone's off anyway." Juju frowned but didn't argue. They walked in. That was the first time Chisimdi noticed people looking at her, not admiringly, but curiously. Two ladies seated near the entrance tapped each other and whispered. A guy at the drink stand accidentally poured champagne onto his own hand because he was too busy staring. Chisimdi's smile grew tight. "Why are they staring?" she asked Juju. Juju chuckled. "Because you're fine, babe. Own it." Chisimdi laughed politely, but in her heart, a storm had begun. Half an hour later, while standing for pictures, everything changed. She shifted her weight onto one foot and heard a tear, a soft, muffled sound, but unmistakable. She stiffened. The seam of her dress, the one that ran just beneath her lower back, had split open. Not completely, but enough to expose the tight black shapewear she wore underneath. A girl standing behind her gasped. One of the event photographers lowered his camera, blinking. Juju turned quickly and whispered, "You're back. Turn around, babe, quick." Too late. Someone's camera flashed. Then again. Then a murmur ran through the crowd. "Wait, is that her real shape? How did it split like that? It's giving silicone. Check TikTok. They've started posting it." Chisimdi didn't wait. She turned, nearly bumped into a waiter, and ran out of the reception hall. Outside, in the car park, she burst into tears. She stood beside Juju's car, breath heaving, mascara running, and hands pressed to her thighs. Her body felt like a prison. The curves she once admired in the mirror had now betrayed her. Juju found her 5 minutes later, eyes wide with panic. "Are you okay? Babe, what happened?" "I told you I shouldn't have come." No, don't say that." "It's growing, Juju," she snapped. "My body, it's not normal. It's not a glow-up, it's a disaster." Juju's face crumbled. "I didn't know, I'm so sorry. I went to a doctor. It's not fat, it's not flesh, it's chemicals." Juju stared at her, horrified. "You mean that cream?" Chisimdi nodded. The truth was out now. There was no going back. That night, someone sent her the video. It was just 12 seconds long, but it was enough. Girls' BBL explodes on the red carpet. The video had already racked up over 12,000 views in 3 hours. Comment sections were brutal. "When you want to look like your fave, too bad. These Abuja girls and fake yunch. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes." She threw her phone against the wall. It didn't break, but something in her spirit finally did. By morning, she was sitting once again in the waiting area of the clinic. This time, no hoodie, no makeup, just her, and fear. Dr. Femi looked up from his tablet and saw her. She didn't speak. She just sat down and whispered, "Book the surgery." The air in the hospital felt colder than before. Not the kind of cold you escape from, but the kind that clings to your skin, like regret. Chisimdi sat in the examination room, her hands locked between her knees, eyes fixed on the floor. The silence between her and Dr. Femi was thick, but not uncomfortable. He had seen her pain even before she spoke, and when she whispered, "Book the surgery," it told him everything he needed to know. But first, the facts had to be made clear. Dr. Femi closed the door gently and wheeled his chair to face her directly. "Before we proceed," he said, his voice calm and clear, I need to explain what the surgery involves, and what it risks. Chisimdi nodded. He opened her scan images on the screen beside them. With a pointer, he zoomed in on one section. This, he said, highlighting a cloudy region, is where the foreign substance has hardened under the muscle. She swallowed hard. It was not just cream. It contains polymer gel and steroid boosters. These are banned in most countries. It's what we call black market cosmetics. It inflames the tissue, causes abnormal growth. Chisimdi looked away, blinking fast. Why didn't anyone stop these people? Dr. Femi sighed. They use fake names, ghost websites, and move accounts weekly. Tracking them is almost impossible. You're not the only one. We've had 3 other girls admitted in the last month. 3? He nodded. One of them lost all sensation in her lower back. Another had a stroke. Chisimdi shut her eyes. It was worse than she thought. What's my own risk? She asked. Dr. Femi didn't sugarcoat it. The procedure is delicate. We'll aim to remove the polymer substance and clean the inflamed tissue, but because of how deeply it's fused into the muscle, there's a possibility of nerve damage. Meaning? There's a small risk you may lose feeling in your hips or buttocks. In rare cases, mobility could be affected. Silence. Then she asked the question that had been burning inside her for days. Will I still look normal? Dr. Femi paused. It depends on what you define as normal, but we will prioritize your health and your life. That answer stung, but it was honest. 3 days later, her surgery was scheduled. The pre-op room was quiet, too clean, and too white. The overhead lights hummed softly as 2 nurses fitted an IV line into her arm. One gently adjusted her wristband. The other double-checked her vitals. Juju sat beside her on the bed, trying to be strong but failing miserably. She had cried the night Chisimdi told her everything. The DM, the cream, the changes, the clinic, the risks. Now, she was just there, holding her hand. Whatever happens, Juju whispered, you're my girl, with or without hips. Chisimdi smiled weakly. A nurse came in. They're ready for you. They wheeled her toward the operating room. Juju followed a few steps, then stopped as they reached the sterile zone. I'll be here, she called. I'm not going anywhere. Chisimdi raised her hand lightly in acknowledgement as the doors shut behind her. Inside the theater, a masked team of 4 surrounded the table. Dr. Femi led the procedure. He looked focused, calm, compassionate. They moved efficiently. Machines beeped softly. An anesthetist leaned close. You'll feel sleepy, he said. Just count backward from 10. 10, 9, 8, 7. Darkness. 6 hours later, she woke up slowly. Heavy eyes, dry throat, stiff body. She blinked. The white ceiling, the IV drip beside her, a soft beep, a slow rise and fall of her chest. She was alive. Juju was asleep beside her bed, wrapped in a hospital blanket. Dr. Femi entered quietly. You're awake, he said, smiling. She nodded. How did it go? He sat gently at her bedside. Better than we hoped. We removed most of the hardened material. There was minor nerve inflammation, but no permanent damage. You're lucky, Chisimdi. You came just in time. She exhaled deeply. Her eyes glistened. Can I see it? She asked. He paused, then nodded. He handed her a small mirror. She slowly lifted the hospital gown. Her hips were still round, but smaller, firmer. The swelling was gone, the shape more natural. A healing scar ran faintly along the base of her back. Her fingers trembled. It's okay, he said gently. Healing takes time, but you're healing. She nodded slowly, a tear slipping down her cheek, not from pain, but from relief. For the first time in months, she saw herself again, not the influencer, not the mistake, not the shame, just her. Chisimdi had only been home first over the 6 days when it happened. She was still recovering, her steps slow, her appetite fragile, and her mind constantly flickering between gratitude and shame. The pain was manageable, but the embarrassment of it all clung to her like sweat. She hadn't gone online in a week. No Instagram, no TikTok, no messages. The last post on her page was a glowing photo of her in a red bodycon dress that now felt like a distant lie. She was sipping warm tea one morning when her phone buzzed rapidly on the bed. Dozens of notifications, messages, mentions, tag alerts. She picked it up, heart racing. "Babe, have you seen this? Is it you?" "Oh no, I can't believe people recorded it. You need to speak out now. Your video is everywhere. It's trending." Her fingers trembled as she tapped one of the links. It was a TikTok, 15 seconds. It showed her in the clothing store, days before her surgery. She had bent down to pick a dropped shoebox. As she stood, her tight pencil skirt gave way at the seam. There was a rip, a loud one. A staff member nearby turned in shock. Two girls giggled in the background. Someone whispered, "Ah, e don burst o." Then the video zoomed in crudely, her bulging figure, her sudden panic, her awkward escape to the staff room. The caption read, "When the bum is too big to function." It had over 1.3 million views. Chizimdi dropped the phone. Her heart was thumping. She checked her Instagram. Hundreds of comments on old photos. "Now we know why you're hiding. Fake body, fake life. Guess those hips were not homemade." She sank to the floor. Juju came in, eyes wide. "Babe, they're tearing you apart. Even blogs are picking it. There's one post calling you the inflatable girl." That name stung. She looked at Juju. Who posted the video first?" Juju hesitated, then said, "I think it was Ona." Her heart dropped. "What? No, not Ona." But screenshots were circulating too. Old voice notes of Chizimdi saying, "Give me 1 month, I'll shut everyone up with this body," had leaked. The voice was hers. The messages had only ever been sent to Ona. She felt a wave of nausea. She had trusted her. And now, her worst moment was viral. The house was quiet. Too quiet. For the past 3 days, Chizimdi had barely spoken. The video had done more than expose her body. It had exposed her pain, her decisions, her flaws, raw, unfiltered, and now public. Juju tried everything to comfort her. Herbal tea, old movies, even scented candles. But nothing seemed to pull Chizimdi out of the fog. Her phone buzzed constantly, but she left it untouched. The once confident girl who danced in reels and posed in tight skirts had vanished into herself. Until that morning. A delivery man rang the doorbell. He handed over a plain package. No name, no return address, just a brown box. Curious, Juju placed it on the table and called out, "Chizzy, something came for you." Slowly, Chizimdi emerged from her room, wrapped in a long robe. Her face was pale, her hair pulled back in a messy bun. She hesitated, then opened the box. Inside, she found a framed printout of her TikTok profile with the words, "1 million followers, all eyes are watching. What will you say?" She stared at it for a long time, then whispered, I need to speak." She sat down with her phone for the first time in a week. Hands trembling, she opened Instagram. Her last post, before everything crumbled, had 22,000 likes. The comments beneath it were now cruel, mocking, even threatening. She opened TikTok. More of the same. But one comment caught her eye. "You looked happy once. What happened to that girl?" She stared at the screen, then opened her camera, then hit record. The video began simply. She sat in front of a white wall. No makeup, no filters, just a girl with tired eyes and a bandage still healing beneath her clothes. "Hi, I'm Chizimdi," she began. She paused. "I know you've probably seen the video. I know you've laughed. I know some of you have cried, and I know many of you are angry. But I need to tell you what no one sees." She took a deep breath. "I was just a girl who wanted to feel enough. Not better than anyone, just enough. I didn't do this because I hated my body. I did it because the world kept telling me it wasn't good enough." Her voice cracked. At first it felt amazing. My curves came fast, my confidence shot up, people noticed me, they complimented me, some of you even told me I was goals. But what you didn't see was the pain, The swelling, the sleepless nights, the hiding, the loneliness. She wiped a tear. I bought a cream online. It promised curves without surgery. What it gave me was a body I didn't recognize and a hospital bed. A long silence. I'm not asking for pity. I'm not even asking for forgiveness. I just want someone out there, another girl who's feeling like she's not enough, to pause. Before you click that Buy Now button, please, just pause. She ended the video quietly. My name is Chisimdi. I'm healing, and I'm not hiding anymore. It went live and exploded. Within 1 hour, 300,000 views. Within 1 day, 1.2 million. Within a week, international blogs picked it up. The Bum Bum Cream survivor speaks out. Nigerian girl warns the world against toxic beauty trends. Even mainstream news channels in the UK, Canada, and Kenya discussed it. Comments flooded in. You're so brave. This saved me. I almost bought the same cream. Thank you for telling the truth. Then the interviews started. Talk shows, podcasts, panels on body image and beauty pressure. Chisimdi, once the quiet girl in the back of every group photo, was now a speaker, an advocate, a survivor. She launched a new Instagram page, at Glow Without Shame. It wasn't about curves or waist size. It was about healing, about loving the body that carries you. She shared stories of other girls who had been hospitalized. One had lost her hearing from a toxic whitening serum. Another nearly lost her legs from DIY butt injections. Every week, she went live to share updates, to answer questions, to educate. Dr. Femi even joined one session. We're treating over 200 cases this year alone, he said, and most victims are under 30. The silence was breaking. And then came justice. 2 months later, news broke that Madam Silky, the vendor behind the illegal cream, had been arrested in Dubai under a fake name. Interpol traced her activities through multiple cosmetic scam websites. She was charged with trafficking banned substances, identity fraud, and attempted manslaughter. Chisimdi's video had been one of the key pieces of evidence. She cried again. But this time it was relief. 1 year later, she stood before a crowd of university students at a women's empowerment conference. She wore a modest, stylish blue dress. Her figure? Natural, healthy, proud. I wanted curves to feel powerful, but now I know power doesn't come from shape. It comes from truth, from rising after the world knocks you down, from choosing yourself again and again, even when it's hard. Thunderous applause filled the room. Juju stood backstage, tears in her eyes. Even Ona, who had apologized publicly and helped organize the event, clapped hard. When Chisimdi stepped off the stage, a little girl ran up to her. Auntie, I want to be like you when I grow up. She smiled, kneeled, hugged her. No, she said, you'll be better. The world will try to shape you, literally. But you must decide if that shape is worth your peace, your health, your life. Real beauty isn't bought. It's built from honesty, healing, and heart. Thank you so much for staying with us till the very end of this story. If this moved you, even just a little, then you're exactly the kind of heart we're here for. At African Tales by Day, we don't just tell stories, we tell Africa's truth in a way that the whole world can feel. And if today's story made you feel something, please don't keep it to yourself. Share this video. Someone out there needs to see this. Someone out there is on the edge of a wrong decision, and your share could save them. This is more than a video, it's a movement. A place where every tale holds a mirror, and every mirror reflects healing. So, if you're new here, welcome home. And if you've been here before, thank you for always coming back. There are many stories out there, but only the few stay with you. At African Tales by Day, we promise to keep telling those few that truly matter. Until our next story, stay true, stay kind, and never stop believing in the power of your own voice.